ลำดับต่อไปนะครับไปกันสู่ในหัวข้อ Better Backup for All ค่ะอันนี้เป็นหัวข้อ Accelerating Data Growth Visualization and Tighter SLA นะคะ have pushed traditional backup to its breaking point ซึ่งในหัวข้อนี้เองนะคะเป็นการเปิดตัวเวอร์ชันใหม่ล่าสุดสำหรับ2ผลิตภัณฑ์ด้วยกันค่ะนั่นก็คือSymantec Backup Exec 2012 และ Symantec Net Backup 7.5 ค่ะ and right now please welcome Mr. Sean Darrington Director Cloud Product Management Symantec Corporation ขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆต้อนรับ Mr. Sean ด้วยค่ะ
Well, good morning. How's everybody doing? Good? Still awake? It's a long morning, I know. We're going to have a break just after my session here, but it's great to be back. This is actually my second time in Bangkok as I travel the world and meet with many customers and partners. It's good to be back into a familiar place. And so what we wanted to do this morning in following Pramod and Young is talk about some of the new things that we have with our Backup Exec and Net Backup solutions, and really talk about what we've been working on for the last year and a half to help you solve your problems in your business, and that is solving the broken backup problem. So my name is Sean Darrington. I'm director of our cloud product management team. I'm based in California in the United States. And so this is actually one of the fun times that we get to do is actually come out, meet with customers and partners like yourselves, and share some of the new and exciting news that we have. Because as you look at the problems that I hear time and time again, it's that for the most part, backup is not working. There's a lot of important things that are happening with companies that are trying to manage the consumerization of IT. The proliferation of new devices in the corporate network, on the corporate applications, particularly generating more user data, and how that can be managed, particularly with virtualization at the server, at the storage layer. That's causing complications for ways to solve a traditional way of backing up an application that everybody here in the room has been doing for many years. But now you have new technologies that are requiring different ways to approach an old problem, and that is, how do I quickly recover my information? And the third thing is the public and private clouds. Server virtualization is one technology that is the building block for a private cloud within your organization, but it's not the only thing. It's part of a bigger process, delivering the same service level agreements in new and better ways for new applications that you can roll out to your businesses and make available in a shorter amount of time. And so what we've seen is this notion of new technologies, new initiatives about delivering better service levels through private clouds has been largely focused and delivered through a lot of virtualization technologies. But there's a good portion of your environment that is still physical. Some organizations are 50 to 60 to 70% virtualized. Well, there's still arguably the most critical applications running in the physical server environment. And to really provide industry-leading service levels for your business, you have to think about a new approach that will apply to both the physical and the virtual environments. And that's actually one of the things that we really took as a building block, as an idea about how we're going to solve this problem of not requiring you to use two separate point tools to solve this problem, but rather one solution across both of those environments, both physical and virtual. And as we thought about this, it really comes down to, how do you do better backup for all? It's not how do you do better backup for Hyper-V, or how do you do better backup for IBM's AIX, is how do you do it for all of your systems? Your data is growing across all of your platforms, not just one particular application, right? Yes, Exchange is growing. Yes, Oracle is growing, and SQL Server, and the list goes on, that is growing 50, 60, 70% a year. And so how do you provide, and how can Symantec provide a better backup experience for all? How can we begin to focus on uniting the platforms that you're responsible for managing? Many organizations don't have the luxury of having unlimited staff, of growing their staff at 50% a year because the data is growing at 50% a year. They can't have staff that's just focused on Windows or just focused on VMware or Unix. Many people have multiple responsibilities. So unifying those platforms with a better backup solution was another thing that we thought a lot about in terms of designing our solutions to make your jobs easier. And lastly, we wanted to make it even more simple than it is today. For the most part, we've been focusing on how do you remove complexity from your environment? How do you make it easier to do a backup of a new application, of a new virtual machine that was added by the business that they didn't tell you about? Well, we've taken it one step further and made it simple so that you don't have to worry about that anymore. There are policies built in that we've designed to make that backup be better and more simple in virtual environments. And so as we think about these three things, storage growth, unifying the platforms, and making it more simple, these are a lot of the ideas that we took to heart and heard from many of you in the room as well as throughout the world, that we wanted to focus on providing solutions from literally the home in your personal life into the largest companies in the world. And so Symantec is actually in a very unique position in the market of providing this for the consumers with our Norton online backup offering. But we also scale to small businesses, mid-sized businesses, enterprise, as well as the largest companies in the world. And so depending upon where your business is today, and perhaps more importantly, where it will be growing over the next few years, we're providing solutions that are going to be with you to provide your problems today, but also solve those problems in the future. As you grow, we have solutions that can provide the same level of benefit across the board. And so as we looked at a lot of the different technologies and a lot of different capabilities that we have, Symantec is actually the only capable company, the only company capable of providing this better backup for all. Nobody else has the portfolio that Symantec has. Nobody else has the approach that Symantec has to solving data protection and recovery in physical, in virtual, in software, in appliances, in cloud, in tape-based backup, in disk-based backup, in snapshot management. Nobody else can provide this in the industry today. So I wanted to share with you a short video, and then we'll continue in just a moment.
Solutions that address one or two aspects of backup get introduced into traditional environments as quick fixes, such as dedupe storage. Some will say that you need a separate product to back up your virtual machines. But what about the physical hosts they run on? Some say tape is dead and you only need disk. While the reality is that tape and disk may each play a role. Snapshots can help too, but at the sacrifice of recoverability? This is yesterday's backup. And while many vendors talk about modernizing and reinventing, none of them have put it all together into a single solution, except Symantec. Symantec delivers better backup for all, whether physical, virtual, software, cloud, or appliance.
So as we've looked at the Better Backup for All tagline and messaging that we've been focused on, there are a couple of key products and solutions that we wanted to highlight this morning, and we'll go into more detail later this afternoon in the breakout sessions. But the first is to focus on our Backup Exec 2012. This is a solution that's being used currently by more than 2 million customers worldwide, and is actually something that we've focused a lot on in terms of how do we think about taking our market-leading product for the mid-market customers and make it even better. And so within Backup Exec 2012, we've introduced a number of new features. Number one, we wanted to come back to this notion of making it simple. We wanted to make it easy for you to do your job, and in some cases, make it so that you don't have to do your job, right? So that you can have time to do other activities and actually remove a lot of that complexity. And so what you'll see in Backup Exec 2012 is a completely redesigned user interface. The experience of Backup Exec before was simple, straightforward, but now it's even more simple. and more straightforward. We've taken the approach of how do we make it simple for you to do a backup job. And in the previous versions of Backup Exec, as an example of creating a backup job, it used to take 10 to 12 different steps. You know, clicking on icons, setting policies, and by the time you were done, it was 10 to 12 steps. Not too bad, but what we've done is we've taken it down to 3 in this Backup Exec 2012 version. And so what we've done is we've actually simplified that experience in the user experience, but we've also simplified the packaging and the operations for what you can actually do in a software model and optimized for different Microsoft server editions, as well as focused on how you can take advantage of some of our cloud capabilities, right, in replicating storage to the cloud, depending upon where your company is, and if you have a multinational company, that may be more important or less important to your priorities. But this is one of the things from a complexity perspective that we've taken to actually integrate into the user interface. We've also focused on how you can actually unite the physical and virtual platforms. So now, similar to the idea about being able to protect an application that's running on VMware or Hyper-V or Windows, physical servers, it doesn't matter. You can protect all of them in the same way. And this is actually one of the things that we've seen companies look at is instead of focusing on just a virtualization-only solution or a point tool that will only work for part of the environment, this is where we see a lot of companies saving time and money by looking at ways to solve the problem across both. We've introduced also Backup Exec, a V-Ray edition, and I see some people looking through the V-Ray goggles that you have in front of you. I hope everybody can see better now. This is actually something that we've focused specifically for virtual server environments, right? It's a similar user interface, simple idea, simple concept, but it actually begins to differentiate what you can do with protecting your information and minimizing the storage costs to do that with our V-Ray technology. And I'll talk a little bit more about what our V-Ray technology is and how it can save money in your environment by reducing the costs in just a few moments. The third